We have here verse 23 of the 7th chapter of the Gospel of John. Jesus has been pointing out to the religious leaders who are upset with him, obviously, and being confrontive with him concerning his alleged violation of the Sabbath, pointing out to them really what amounts to an inconsistency in their own theory. In attacking him in this way, he's pointed out to them that, in effect, they violate the Sabbath when they circumcise a male infant on the 8th day as required by the law of Moses. But Moses himself, in a sense, was submitting to an earlier rule that had been put in place clear back with the patriarchs. And Jesus now is, in a sense, showing the inconsistency of what they're attempting to accuse him of, as he points out to them that by violating the Sabbath, conducting a circumcision, of course, they themselves are winding up in an inconsistent position. He drives the point home even more emphatically here. A is the word for if, used in the indicative, so oftentimes it means if in the sense of sense, like sense something is going to be the case. So it's the indicative mood suggesting more a condition consistent with fact. So if peritomain, if circumcision, the literal meaning of this, the cutting around, if circumcision, lambane, from lambano, I take or I receive, third person singular, present active indicative. So if circumcision, he receives. And then anthropos, a man, a male infant now. So if a male infant receives circumcision in, the word in means in, can also mean in a sense during, which is the sense here, sabbato. If a male infant receives circumcision during the Sabbath, on the Sabbath, which in effect would be violating the Sabbath, and yet Jesus points out it's in order that, hina, takes the subjunctive, which we find here. So in order that may, the negation used with the subjunctive, lutho, this is from luo, to break, is one meaning of it, and this is the passive subjunctive, so the third person singular passive subjunctive, in order that it may not be broken, namely ho, the nomos, the law, so that the law of Moses, mouseos, the law of Moses might not be broken. So in effect, you circumcise on the 8th day precisely to avoid breaking the law of Moses, a law, of course, that he inherited from the patriarchs. Then Jesus goes one better and says, emoi, this is emphatic, the dative singular first person of the pronoun to me, and then kolate, this is from kolao, I am angry is the idea, so this is a question, interrogative, second person plural, present active indicative, and the effect of it is to ask a question, as in, why are you angry? You are angry with me, he says, hoti, because holon, all or whole, anthropon, a man, hugie, whole or entire. This is quite emphatic. These two words are somewhat synonymous. They're both adjectives. They're both describing the anthropon here. The whole point of both of these is to say that why is it that you are getting angry with me when I make a man completely and totally and perfectly whole? Referring again, presumably, to that character that Jesus had healed, who was the invalid there beside the pool. Poiesa, this is from poieo, I make or I do. This is the aorist, first person singular aorist active indicative. So why are you so angry with me for making a man completely, emphatically whole during the Sabbath? You violate the Sabbath by conducting circumcision. The theory behind circumcision was the idea that it was sort of healing or cleansing a male child, that this was sort of the idea, a kind of healing, you might say, metaphorically at least. Jesus says, I'm doing much more than that. I'm making a man, in fact, substantively whole, who had been, in fact, an invalid for all his life. And so I'm doing something that, in other words, a fortiori, if you're going to allow the circumcision to be performed on the Sabbath, then how much more should you be permitting one to be made fully whole on the Sabbath? And yet, in effect, while you grant the one, allow the one, you're getting angry with me to the point of plotting my destruction for doing the other act.